What if I told you that the joint pain, stiffness, and limitation you're experiencing right now, the kind that makes it hard to open jars, climb stairs, or play with your grandchildren, isn't actually because your joints are old, but because of something happening in your body right now that you can change starting today? I know that sounds too simple, doesn't it? You're probably thinking, I've heard this before. I've tried glucosamine, I've tried fish oil, I've eliminated nightshades, I've done physical therapy. My doctor says it's just arthritis and I need to live with it. And maybe you've spent hundreds of dollars on supplements that promised relief, but left you with nothing except lighter pockets and the same aching knees. My name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I've been treating patients in their 60s and 70s for over 18 years, specializing in age-related joint health and mobility. And here's what I want you to understand. When patients come to me following everything correctly, taking their prescribed medications, doing their exercises, watching their weight, but still experiencing progressive joint deterioration and pain that limits their daily life, it's almost never because their joints are simply old. In nearly 70% of cases, it's because of a specific metabolic process that accelerates after age 60, and most people are unknowingly making it worse every single day. I'm talking about patients who wake up with hands so stiff they can't button their shirt for the first hour. I'm talking about women who've had to stop gardening, men who can't walk their dog around the block anymore, people who avoid social activities because they're embarrassed about how slowly they move or how much help they need. And I see the exhaustion in their eyes, the frustration of trying everything, the money spent on every cream and supplement advertised, the constant vigilance that never seems to pay off. But when we address this underlying process with three specific strategic changes, and I mean truly specific, down to exact timing and measurements, I consistently see 30 to 40% improvement in reported pain levels within 4 weeks and measurable improvements in range of motion and inflammatory markers within 8 weeks. Before we go further, I'd love to know where you're watching this from. Please take a moment to comment your city or country below. And let me be absolutely clear from the start. Nothing I'm about to share is meant to replace your medical treatment or your prescribed medications. This is about supporting your joint health safely alongside whatever treatment plan your doctor has given you. Now, let me explain what's actually happening inside your body after 60 that creates this perfect storm for joint deterioration. First, your body's production of synovial fluid, that's the natural lubricant inside your joints, decreases by approximately 30% between ages 60 and 75. That means less cushioning, more friction, more wear and tear with every movement. Second, chronic low-grade inflammation increases significantly after 60. We call it inflammaging, and it's not the dramatic inflammation of an injury, but a constant, simmering inflammatory state that slowly damages cartilage and joint tissue. Third, your body's ability to clear metabolic waste products from joint spaces decreases, meaning inflammatory compounds accumulate in the joints themselves. And fourth, this is critical, cellular dehydration at the joint level accelerates, meaning even if you're drinking water, the cells in your cartilage and joint tissue aren't absorbing and utilizing it effectively. But here's what most people, including many healthcare providers, completely miss. The timing and method of hydration throughout your day has a massive impact on whether that water actually reaches your joint tissues or just passes through your system. Most people are drinking water randomly, or gulping large amounts at once, or drinking the wrong temperature at the wrong times relative to their meals and medications. And this creates a situation where you can drink 8 glasses of water a day and still have dehydrated joint tissue. And here's why this matters more than you might think. Even mild, ongoing joint inflammation creates measurable negative effects over time. It disrupts your sleep quality because of discomfort. Poor sleep increases cortisol, which increases inflammation further. Pain limits your movement, which decreases muscle strength around the joints, which puts more stress on the joints themselves. It's a devastating cycle that compounds month after month, year after year. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret was 67 when she came to see me, and I'll never forget what she said during that first appointment. Dr. Mitchell, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I take my medication exactly as prescribed. I've lost 15 pounds like my doctor suggested. I walk 3 times a week even though my knees hurt. I track my steps. I do the exercises the physical therapist gave me, but my hands are getting worse, my knees are getting worse, and now my hips are starting to hurt too. She showed me her medication list, perfectly organized. She showed me her food diary. She was eating lean protein, vegetables, whole grains, avoiding sugar and processed foods. Her husband had come with her to the appointment, and I could see the concern on his face. I watch her struggle every morning, he said. It takes her 45 minutes just to feel like she can move normally. I feel helpless. I asked Margaret a simple question about her daily routine. Walk me through your morning. When do you wake up? When do you take your medications? When do you eat? And when do you drink water? She explained that she woke up around 6:30, took her medications immediately with a large glass of water, ate breakfast about 30 minutes later, and then started her day. She drank very little throughout the morning because she was busy, had a cup of coffee around 10, lunch at noon, and then tried to drink most of her water in the evening because she'd read it was important to stay hydrated. And there it was. The timing was creating a dehydration window in her joints precisely when her body needed hydration most, right after waking, when joint fluid is at its lowest, and throughout the active part of her day. She was front-loading her water with her medications, which meant it was being used primarily for metabolizing those medications and then being eliminated. The coffee was further dehydrating her, and by the time she was drinking larger amounts of water in the evening, her body was in rest mode and less efficient at directing that hydration to joint tissues. I could see the realization on her face. You mean all this time I've been drinking water wrong? I explained to her a specific strategic hydration protocol, along with two other small changes related to the temperature of her morning routine and the timing of a particular mineral intake. Nothing radical, nothing expensive, nothing that required her to stop any of her current treatments. 2 weeks later, Margaret called me. Her voice sounded different, lighter. Dr. Mitchell, I don't want to jinx it, but my hands don't feel as stiff in the morning, and I made it through my entire grocery shopping yesterday without having to sit down once. 1 month later, at her follow-up appointment, Margaret's grip strength had improved by 18%. Her reported pain level had dropped from a 7 out of 10 to a 4. Her morning stiffness duration had decreased from 45 minutes to about 15 minutes. She looked at me and smiled. I honestly thought you were a little crazy, doctor, suggesting that timing my water would make this much difference. But it worked. Before I teach you the exact method, let me explain the 3 most common mistakes I see every single week in my practice. Because if you're making these mistakes, no amount of medication or supplements will give you the results you deserve. Mistake number 1, drinking large amounts of water all at once, especially first thing in the morning with medications. Think of your joints like a sponge that's been sitting out overnight. If you pour a cup of water on a dried out sponge all at once, most of it runs right off. But if you slowly, consistently moisten that sponge, it absorbs the water and becomes functional again. Your joint tissues work the same way. Gulping 16 ounces of water at once, especially on an empty stomach first thing in the morning, means most of that water is processed for elimination, not absorbed into tissues. You need strategic, measured hydration throughout the day. Mistake number 2, ignoring the temperature of what touches your joints in the first hour of waking. Here's an analogy. Imagine you have a plant with dry soil. If you water it with ice-cold water, the soil contracts, the roots don't absorb efficiently, and much of the water runs through without being utilized. But if you water with room temperature or slightly warm water, the soil expands, becomes receptive, and absorbs deeply. Your joints in the morning are like that plant with dry soil. Exposing them immediately to cold floors, cold water for washing, cold temperature in your home causes the tissues to contract and become less receptive to hydration and nutrients. This is why many of my patients experience dramatic improvement simply by changing the temperature of their morning routine. Mistake number 3, consuming inflammatory compounds within 2 hours of waking when your cortisol is naturally highest and your body's inflammatory response is most sensitive. Coffee, even though we love it, processed sugars, even certain seemingly healthy foods consumed at the wrong time, create an inflammatory cascade precisely when your joints are most vulnerable. I'm not saying never have coffee. I'm saying the timing matters enormously. When you consume potential inflammatory triggers during your body's natural cortisol peak in the early morning, you're essentially pouring gasoline on a small fire. But if you wait until your cortisol naturally decreases, usually about 2 to 3 hours after waking, your body handles these same substances with much less inflammatory response. Now, let me teach you the method that changed everything for Margaret and hundreds of my other patients. I call it the J3 method: joint hydration, joint temperature, and joint timing. The J stands for systematic joint hydration. The 3 represents the 3 critical timing phases throughout your day. Here's exactly how it works. Phase 1, morning preparation from the moment you wake up until 1 hour after waking. The moment you wake up, before you get out of bed, drink 4 to 6 ounces of room temperature water, not cold water, not a full glass. Just 4 to 6 ounces slowly, still lying down or sitting on the edge of your bed. This initial hydration signals your system to begin the absorption process. Wait 5 minutes. Then, instead of stepping onto cold floors, put on socks or slippers immediately. If you shower in the morning, start with warm water, not hot, not cold, but comfortably warm for at least the first 2 minutes. This warm temperature causes the tissues around your joints to expand and become receptive. The science here is about capillary dilation and cellular membrane permeability. Warmth increases both, which means better nutrient and hydration delivery to joint tissues. After your warm shower or after washing up, drink another 4 ounces of room temperature water. You're now at 8 to 10 ounces total, but delivered in 2 separate measured amounts with time between them. This accomplishes something critical: gradual, sustained absorption, rather than rapid elimination. Phase 2, mid-morning maintenance, from hour 2 to hour 5 of your day. This is when most people's hydration completely falls apart. They get busy, they forget, and their joints enter a dehydration state just as they're being used most actively. Set a reminder on your phone or use a specific bottle that you can see. Every 90 minutes during this phase, drink exactly 6 ounces of water. Not a full glass, not a tiny sip, but 6 measured ounces. If you're taking medications during this window, take them with 4 ounces of water and then drink your scheduled 6 ounces 30 minutes later, not at the same time. Why? Because this separates medication processing from tissue hydration. Your body can focus on each task more efficiently. And here's the other critical element of phase 2. This is when you add 200 to 300 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, ideally around hour 3 of your day. Not magnesium oxide, which isn't well absorbed. Magnesium glycinate. This specific form and this specific timing supports the actual transport of water into joint tissues and helps reduce that low-grade inflammation we talked about earlier. Phase 3, evening stabilization, from dinner time until bed. This is not about drinking large amounts, it's about maintaining what you've built throughout the day. Drink 4 ounces of water with your evening meal. Then, one final 4-ounce serving about 1 hour before bed. That's it. You're not front-loading, you're not back-loading, you're strategically distributing hydration throughout your day in amounts and at times that your body can actually utilize for joint health. Let me tell you about Robert. Robert was 72, a retired contractor, and he came to me because his hands had gotten so bad he couldn't hold his tools anymore. "Dr. Mitchell," he said, "my A1C is well controlled, my blood pressure is perfect, I'm at a healthy weight, but my hands are failing me. I can't do the woodworking I love. I can't even grip a screwdriver without pain shooting up my wrist." His frustration was palpable. His wife told me he'd become withdrawn, stopped going to his workshop, spent most days just sitting in his chair. I taught Robert just one part of the J3 method to start, just phase 1, the morning hydration and temperature protocol. "Try this for 3 weeks," I said, "just this one change." 3 weeks later, Robert came back. "It's not gone," he said, "but it's genuinely different. My fingers move easier in the morning. The sharp pain is more of a dull ache now. I actually went out to my workshop last weekend and worked for 2 hours." We added the other 2 phases. 2 months later, Robert's grip strength had improved by 23%. His inflammatory markers had decreased measurably, and most importantly to him, he'd built an entire bookshelf for his granddaughter. "I don't understand why no one told me this before," he said. "It's so simple." Now I know what you're asking. "Dr. Mitchell, how much water total should I be drinking?" Here's the simple rule. Take your body weight in pounds, divide by 2, and that's roughly how many ounces you should consume daily, but distributed according to the J3 timing I just described. So if you weigh 160 pounds, you're aiming for about 80 ounces total, but spread strategically throughout the day, not all at once, not randomly, but measured and timed. Practical tips. Keep a 6-ounce bottle or glass in the spots where you'll need it. One by your bed, one in your bathroom, one in your kitchen. This removes the barrier of having to measure each time. Set 3 alarms on your phone, one for when you wake up, one for mid-morning, one for evening. Label them J3 Phase 1, J3 Phase 2, J3 Phase 3. Here's what to expect. Week 1. You might not feel dramatic changes, but you'll probably notice you're moving a bit easier in the morning. Week 2. The stiffness duration should noticeably decrease. You might find yourself doing small tasks that were difficult before without thinking about it. Weeks 3 to 4. This is when most patients report that the pain level has genuinely decreased, not just during certain times of day, but overall. Long-term, meaning 2 to 3 months in, this is when we typically see measurable improvements in range of motion, strength, and inflammatory blood markers. And patients consistently tell me, "Doctor, I just feel better overall. My energy is better. My mood is better. Everything feels less like a struggle." Let me be absolutely clear about something critical. This is not a replacement for medical care. This is not a cure for arthritis or any diagnosed joint condition. Do not stop taking your prescribed medications. Do not ignore your doctor's advice. Continue following your treatment plan exactly as prescribed. If you have kidney disease, heart failure, or any condition where fluid intake needs to be monitored carefully, you must consult with your physician before changing your hydration routine. If you're on diuretics or medications that affect fluid balance, talk to your doctor first. This method is designed to work alongside proper medical care, not instead of it. Let me tell you about Helen. Helen was 69 and had been dealing with severe knee and hip pain for nearly 20 years. She'd tried everything, multiple rounds of physical therapy, injections, 3 different anti-inflammatory medications, even considered surgery. When she came to me, there was a defeat in her eyes that broke my heart. "I've failed at this," she said. "My body is just broken." I asked about her daily habits, and she described a pattern that was unfortunately very common. She barely drank water because it didn't seem to help anyway. She started every morning with cold cereal and iced coffee. She spent most mornings sedentary because movement hurt, and then tried to catch up with hydration and activity in the evenings. We implemented the full J3 method. She was skeptical. I could see it in her face, but she was also desperate enough to try. 1 month in, she called me. "My morning stiffness is about half what it was." 2 months in, at her follow-up, "I'm walking my dog again. Short walks, but I'm doing it." 3 months in, and I saw tears in her eyes. "Dr. Mitchell, I got on the floor to play with my granddaughter last week, and I got back up by myself. I haven't been able to do that in 5 years." Her inflammatory markers had decreased by 34%. Her pain scores had dropped from an 8 to a 4. Her quality of life assessment scores had improved so dramatically that we were able to work with her primary care doctor to slightly reduce one of her medications. "I wish someone had told me this years ago," she said. "I spent thousands of dollars on treatments and supplements, and what actually made the difference was something this simple: the timing, the temperature, the strategy." I want to challenge you personally right now. I want you to try the J3 method for 21 days, not casually, not when you remember, but deliberately, consistently, following the exact timing and measurements I described. Phase 1 every morning, 4 to 6 ounces room temperature water before getting out of bed, warm start to your day, another 4 ounces after. Phase 2 throughout your active morning, 6 ounces every 90 minutes. Phase 3 in the evening, 1 serving with dinner, 1 final serving before bed. Track your results. Notice your morning stiffness duration. Notice your pain levels throughout the day. Notice what activities become easier. And I want you to come back to this video in 3 weeks and comment your progress. Tell me what changed. Tell me what surprised you. Tell me what you're able to do now that was difficult before. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, type J3 method in the comments and tell me, what's your biggest struggle with joint pain right now? Is it your hands, your knees, your hips, your back? Share with me because I read every comment and your input helps me create content that addresses exactly what you're dealing with. Share this video with someone you love who's struggling with joint pain. Share it with your spouse, your parent, your friend who keeps saying their joints are just old, because they're not just old. There's something happening that can be addressed. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos where I'll break down more specific strategies for different joint issues, knees, hands, shoulders, hips, and other health challenges that are not just age, but addressable problems with strategic solutions. Small, strategic changes done consistently create genuinely measurable results over time. You don't need to accept pain and limitation as inevitable. You need the right information, applied at the right time, in the right way. This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and I'll see you in the next video.